Hey, how are you doing, girl? Emily Claire Trujillo McFarland. How are you doing today, daughter? So today is the 12th of October, 2018. How are you doing this? Gosh, we're in the 21st century already. 18 years into the 21st century. That by itself is pretty amazing. It's like time travel. I was born in 1971, which was almost 50 years ago. Oh, that boggles the mind. It boggles my mind. I'm almost a half century old. I'm like a tree, but a little more handsome than that. Not by tree standards, that's for sure. Maybe by human standards, but not by tree standards. So how are you doing? How are things? How are you doing so far? Last I checked in, I think you were 14 years old. And you're almost 14 and a half now. Come December 21st, we're talking winter solstice coming up real soon. It's already mid-October. In about 60 days, you'll be 14 and a half. And we'll be studying or celebrating your half birthday in December 21st. That's pretty nice. I don't know if you knew this, but your grandma on your dad's side, Barbara Gibson, her birthday is on December 21st. So there are two solstice babies. You are a summer solstice baby, and my mom, or your grandma, Barbara Gibson, is a winter solstice baby. So that's pretty neat. What an interesting factoid that is. Well, I hope you're doing well this 12th of this October. It's middle of October, and I'm thinking of cool thoughts. I'm thinking about weather getting cooler. I told you about the hat that I was looking for. I think I might go for looking for some clothing today. Maybe see if I can find some jackets to wear. Maybe something a little more fashion forward. I'm not sure. I might go looking for some clothes today. Who knows? I might just go to the Goodwill, which is where I buy like 90% of my clothes. I kid you not. I got this fine shirt at Goodwill. I just like secondhand clothing stores. Secondhand store clothing. What can I say? It's a disease. It's an affliction. Yep. I love secondhand clothing. What can I say? It's the spot. So now let's check out Peaceful Living by Mary McKenzie. Let's see what she has to say today. So October 12th. So the quote for the day is, "All great discoveries are made by men whose feelings run ahead of their thinking," by C.H. Parkhurst. That's probably true. Because when it comes to discovery, quite often it requires thinking out of the box. It requires new thinking, new motivation, and often it requires a lot of energy and time, and it's a very passionate pursuit. The body of knowledge that exists in the world today is about yay big, and people are always stretching the boundaries, thinking thoughts that have never been thought before, and verifying them through clinical studies and mathematics and analysis and review. And, in order to sort of step outside of the circle, it takes courage. It takes a moral courage, it takes an intellectual courage, and it takes emotional thoughtlessness. Well, not so much. That's just a joke. Not emotional thoughtlessness, but it does take passion. And so let's see what Mary McKenzie has to say about this particular quote. And the subtitle of her comment is Conflict Resolution. So anytime you're in conflict, it is likely you are arguing for a particular strategy. Rather than connecting to the underlying needs behind it. I've got to do this more often. Mary is so right. I really do advocate strategies over needs sometimes. Gosh, man, she hit the nail on the head with that statement. Let me say it again. It says, anytime you're in conflict, it's likely you are arguing for a particular strategy rather than connecting to the underlying needs behind it. Oh, man. That hits me right here, man. That's right. Often I do over-focus on strategy. Let's see what else she has to say. The simple fact is important to recognize. The first step in conflict resolution is to remind yourself to look for needs, not strategies. Even simply recognizing this will help bring resolution. Step 2 is reminding yourself that you truly value everyone's needs and that you do not want to get your way at someone else's expense. That's a really important point too. I just need to reiterate that. Even simply recognizing this will help bring resolution. Step 2 is reminding yourself that you truly value everyone's needs and that you do not want to get your way at someone else's expense. You do not want to get your way at someone else's expense. That is very clearly stated. I don't know how to state that in a more clear fashion. Step 3 is looking for the underlying needs behind each request. If your partner wants to visit family for Christmas and you'd like to stay at home, look at your needs. I'd guess his needs are for fun, connection with family, and contributing to their lives. Your needs might be for rest, ease, and fun. Step 4 then is brainstorming other alternatives that will value everyone's needs. Rather than focus on just 2 options, spending Christmas with family or home alone, are there other options that you could consider? It is so easy to get stuck in our strategies if we don't acknowledge the actual needs we might want to meet. Once we acknowledge them, we become more open to looking at other options. Oh, man. So this really hits my heart because quite often I get lost in focusing on strategies. And the problem with that is that strategies are so limited. I can just see it. A strategy is like, oh, here's a solution, here's a solution, here's a solution, here's a solution. And, the idea is that these solutions solve a problem. But if you don't consider the problem, and the needs associated with that problem, first, you limit yourself in terms of creativity. Absolutely. I can imagine if just focusing on the needs, wants, desires, goals of a person and focusing on those needs rather than strategies first, focusing on the needs first, will help you make a lot more progress in a stepwise fashion instead of going straight to the strategy. Oh man, let me tell you, I go straight to the strategy all the time, thinking that the strategy will solve the problem. And you know what? A focus on needs and desires and wants and goals and passions, I think that is definitely the way to go in terms of my relationships with people all around me. And also reducing conflict, right? This is about conflict resolution. It's also about meeting needs. Thank you, Mary McKenzie, for the reminder. I really appreciate that. I'm taking this to heart. And so, let's see. Okay, so the thought for the day is, notice today how conflicts stem from arguing a particular strategy instead of focusing on discovering and meeting everyone's needs. Let me read that again. The thought is, notice today how conflicts stem from arguing a particular strategy instead of focusing on discovering and meeting everyone's needs. In our lives today, I think we are over-focused on strategies. Like Obamacare or Trump care, right? Or let's go to France or let's go to Brazil, right? It's like these are strategies for meeting needs which are unidentified, right? So what can help you decide where to visit or travel? Well, a focus on your needs. Do you have a need for adventure, a need for excitement, an interest in a curiosity in learning new things about different cultures, maybe going to a museum? It might be that if you have a desire to learn about culture, that all you need to do is cross the street and go to your local art museum and not spend all the time, energy, and money traveling to Paris, France. You know? It could be that that's really all you need. And you know what? It might be that instead of, it might be you just have maybe you want to socialize, maybe you have a desire for closeness or connection. Maybe you can just knock on the door of a next door neighbor and get that need satisfied. There's no need to travel 3 times around the world and buy an RV class 1 diesel pusher in order to sort of commune with other nature lovers in some national park on the other side of the country. Focusing on your needs and wants and what you really value in life is a shortcut. It's also it helps you dial in and target what you really want to do. It's about being effective in your life and honing in on what's most important, what gives you the most meaning, and not spending a lot of time and money doing things that just aren't for you and aren't serving you. An examination of what you really want is a great way to start a negotiation, and ideally a way to finish it. And I think strategies arise quite naturally when needs are considered. Full stop. When needs are considered. Full stop. Anyway, that is a really great reminder, and thank you, Mary. Every once in a while, Mary's got some golden nuggets of wisdom to share, and I think that was an example of such a golden nugget. All right, well, thank you, Mary. So I was thinking about what I might be able to present today, and I thought to myself, well, hey, I've got this wonderful Kindle Oasis. I got my Amazon ebook reader, which I love, by the way, and which I'm spending more time reading lately. I'm not sure why it is I have this sudden hankering to engage in long periods of reading books that I find interesting. But I've got this deep, deep yearning to learn from words, from good sources of information that, I don't know, are enlightening and just exciting and just, inspire me. But anyway, I was thinking about what I could present today, and I have this book of questions that I bought many years ago, and I figured, well, why not just go through each and every one of the questions and give you a little hint about what it's like to be me and what my world is like. Maybe you can compare and contrast some of your own ideas with mine. And so here we go. All the questions are numbered, and I figured we'd just go through each and every one. Why not? Okay, so the first question is, do you believe in luck? That's question number 1. All right, so let me think for a second here. Do you believe in luck? Okay. Well, I don't believe in luck. As I think normally defined by society, and that is, and I don't think a lot of people believe in luck either, but I guess this is only an inkling, and I could be mistaken, but I think luck might have to do with some kind of magical, how should I say, this magical favor that happens. It's this sort of a favoring by some force or power or source. I don't believe in supernatural luck. I do believe in, say, being prepared for opportunity. Absolutely. And, a lot of that takes thought and strategy and preparedness. And that is the kind of luck I appreciate and I believe in. And you know what? I think there then there is also what I wouldn't call it randomness, because I don't necessarily believe that pretty much anything's random. Because I think that that things have natural causes. There are natural processes that unfold over time according to demonstrable natural laws described in equations. And so, but I do believe in a kind of coincidence that is lucky. A lot of things happen. Like, for example, I'm on the road, and say I miss hitting by accident some animal that's crossing the street. That is luck. That's how fortunate it was that I avoided this tragedy. And so that's the kind of luck that I appreciate. For me, it's about gratitude when things happen sort of in an unplanned way. And that's the case for a lot of things in life. A lot of things are just coincidental, these coincidental benefits that happen. I like that. Sort of a matching of preparedness and opportunity, just a matching of just good fortune. Not in a supernatural way, but in a completely natural way. And so I guess that's my answer. So no, I don't believe in luck, but not in the supernatural sense, but in the natural sense, I do believe in a happy circumstance. So question number 2 is, do you have a lucky number? Well, I do have some numbers I enjoy thinking about, numbers I like. Like, I like the number 2 and 3. I think I like the number 3 more than I like the number 2. I like the number 7. There's something about the number 7 that is an enjoyable number for me to contemplate. And multiples of the number 7. I like 7 and 14 and 21 and 24. Actually, 24 is not a multiple of 7. I like 24 though. There's something about 24. I'm not sure. It's even. It's divisible by 6 and 2 and 8, right? And it's still divisible by 3. I mean, I love the number 24 just because of how versatile it is. And it's just an awesome number. 24 is an awesome number. I also like the number 16. I'm not sure why I like that number. I like the number 14 and 16. I think I like 16 more than I like 14. Now, why do I like these numbers? I don't know. They've got an aesthetic quality about them. Maybe they're round and not odd. Although 7 is odd and 3 is odd, and I like those numbers a lot. Maybe it's the way that the number sort of looks, its shape. Maybe it's soft. Although 7 is not soft, it's probably the sharpest number there is besides the number 1, right? And I would guess that 3 is kind of in the middle. The number 3 has some sharp ends and some round ends too. So now, do I have any lucky numbers? No, I can't say that I have any lucky numbers. I don't know about any lucky numbers. So the answer to that question is no. I don't have a lucky number. Let's see what else we got here. All right. So the next question is number 3. Are you an animal lover? The answer to that question is yes. I love animals. Now, do I have any pets? No, I don't. Why is that? Well, you know what? I love animals so much that to have an animal sort of around me all the time and in my apartment, I don't think it would be good for the animal. Straight up. I just don't think it would be good for the animal. I don't think an animal could be happy living in my space. Besides sort of like the just sort of the it, I like my apartment clean, really clean, and for me to have hairs from pets all around my home, on my carpet, and on my clothes, and on my couch, it's just not for me. It's just not for me, you know. And it's probably best that it is that way. Now, I've had dogs before. I had dogs growing up. I had cats for a while. I've had a lot of pets. I've had a pet turtle. I've had pet fish. I've had a pet hamster. Yeah, a lot of those animals I had when I was a kid. And those were all pretty much great experiences. And may all those animals rest in peace. I know that many of them could still be alive. I'm not sure. Did I ever have a bird? I might have had a bird. Or at least it might have been the family bird. I don't think I had one personally. But as your kids, and when I was growing up as a kid, I think I had a few pets along with my brothers and sister. I mean, I come from a family with 6 kids, and so how do you keep these 6 kids entertained throughout the day? Well, you buy them pets, and so I had a number of pets growing up. My favorite pets were definitely dogs. Now, we also had some farm animals growing up. We had a couple horses, a goat, a pig, and you know, we raised them in our yard, which was huge. It was like 7 acres of land we had. And boy, I tell you, those were good memories. I actually I'm enjoying right now. What you're seeing, what you're noticing now is me reminiscing about the past. I've got some amazing memories. I'll have to talk about them. Well, maybe I'll do it right now. Maybe I'll talk about some of the animals I raised. So when I grew up in Taos, New Mexico, my dad had a love of animals too. And we had, at least he had, a number of horses, maybe 2, 3, 4 horses, but they were often kept off property. We did, however, for some time have some horses on our own land, which was about 7 acres, which is a pretty good size chunk of land. And we had horses. We also had a goat and a cow, not a cow, a goat and a pig, and this makeshift corral that I think Dad built. And we also had a big stack of hay that was in bales. And we also had a shed where we had a big bag of oats that we'd feed the horses. And it was pretty neat. Part of my chores growing up was feeding the horses, pig and goat every day before I went off to school. That was a challenging responsibility for a kid who's, I don't know, I guess I might have been 10, 11, 12 years old. It was a challenge. It's definitely an adult's job, right? And feeding and watering the horses and animals, that takes patience and discipline, and I did the best that I could at that time, at that age. And you know what? It was kind of neat to watch those animals grow and thrive for a while. Yeah, I can remember, just hanging around those horses and feeding them, slicing off some of the bales of hay and feeding it to them. It was pretty nice. Also beside the shed we had on our property, we also had a huge swing set, which was kind of nice, made out of vigas Dad and his workers fashioned for us. That was kind of neat to have your own private swing set. Now, having a private swing set is, I think, for a lot of kids, not a big deal, but I really liked it. It was pretty enjoyable to have those things around. It was a very unique design. It was essentially like a wooden swing set made of vigas, which are building materials. Dad was a general contractor, and so he would build homes, and sometimes he'd have no use for one material or another, and I guess he made at least a swing set for us kids on the property that we owned. Yeah. So, yeah, we also owned many dogs, and many of them had a single name, Lady. So we had German Shepherds and Doberman Pinschers. Did we have any other kind of dog? I think Dad started out with a sheepdog. And so I grew up with a lot of dogs around. I know that mom mom was tasked with doing a lot of the care for the dogs. So I know putting out dog food and putting out water every day. The dogs were pretty well cared for, and there was always something new going on with them. They were always getting into adventures out of doors. They were focused on doing all kinds of things, playing with other dogs, mixing with, say, male dogs, mixing with female dogs. I have quite a lot of interesting memories of that. And, there was just a lot of pets around. And, even when I was hiking around our 7-acre property, we had 2 streams, and they were really irrigation ditches. But for me, they were definitely streams. They had fish in them, and they were fun to play in and play around. And we would dig for worms underneath the mud as kids, and we would prepare and plant gardens. We'd find some spare lumber around, and we'd make little fences around our gardens. I remember I planted a watermelon garden at one time. Not that any watermelons ever popped up, but we did, I think, actually plant carrots one time, and the carrots actually grew into tiny carrots before we picked them. We picked them as baby carrots. We didn't have the patience back then to wait for the carrots to grow into real carrots. And I remember a time when Dad had his backhoe out on the land, and with his guidance, we dug a little hole near the stream bed, and with the backhoe, and then we had, my brother and we just raised worms, or dug out the worms out of the side of the dug-in hole. And I don't know, we were playing with worms all day long. It turns out there were a ton of worms in the ground. I mean, not a ton of worms, but there were enough worms to help kids be interested in the long days of, say, summer vacation. So anyway, I was pleased to have such an enjoyable childhood there in Taos. I really do feel quite fortunate to have the childhood that I did. And, congratulations and thanks go to my parents, my mom and dad, who put it all together. Somehow they made it work out. I mean, even now I'm sort of amazed that they pulled it together the way that they did. I mean, it must have come at great sacrifice for both of them to pull it together. I'm sure they both wanted it and desired it, and the work was worth it. But yeah, I feel really fortunate, really lucky to have come out from all that in halfway decent mental and physical shape. So a lot of that gratitude goes to my parents for pulling it together. It's funny, I haven't really considered a lot of these ideas for a long time. And so it's kind of nice to talk about them and I got it out on the table, and maybe you'll be able to understand a little bit more where I come from as you compare and contrast it to your own life. Yeah. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the next question. So, question number 4 is, do you have any pets? And I answered that just a moment ago. No, I don't have any pets. And question number 5 is, what is your favorite animal? Well, my favorite animal, hands down, is the dog. I love dogs. They are my favorite animal. And what's so great is that, I mean, they're just like human beings in the sense that they're just social creatures and they really respond emotionally to you. They're so open and feeling and exciting to have around. They are just little people, it seems, and I love them. I think I love them so much that I could never have one as a pet. I know. I think I would get really attached if I had a pet dog and that dog would just be everything to me. I think so, it's kind of funny that I would hesitate to own a dog even though I love dogs. I think that I would just really enjoy having one around. But at the same time, I don't know. My space, my living space doesn't really allow for having a pet dog of any size, like a moderate sized dog. So, it'll just have to come at another time. Maybe at a time when I have a good sized backyard or some property to set a dog on so that the dog is reasonably happy. I don't think a dog can really survive well in a one bedroom apartment. So yeah, let's see what the next question is. How tall are you? So this is question number 6. How tall am I? And I am 5'7" and a quarter. At least that's the last time I measured myself. So I'm about 5'7", and I think I'm 5'7" without shoes on. That I think on average is just a little shorter than many men on average. I think men on average generally average maybe around 5'10", right? So I'm a little bit shorter than average for a man, but I'm plenty tall. I tower over many people, even at 5'7". It just goes to show there's a lot of short people in the world. I mean, really short people in the world. And so I don't necessarily find height to be a disadvantage at all. And I'm only slightly off average. So it hasn't really been a big factor in my life. Question number 7. Do you wish to be taller or shorter? Well, ideally, I think I would like to be a little more tall. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it because my height is quite nice. I enjoy the height that I'm at. I'm guessing that I might have a little bit more opportunity as a slightly taller person, but that would be only on average. I've seen tall people that I don't know. I certainly wouldn't want to be too tall. That seems to me like a disadvantage. But I don't know. I think I would be happy with just being average height, say between 5'10" and say 6 feet, which is just 2 inches taller than that. I don't think I'd really want to be higher than 6 feet tall. That's really stretching it. But in terms of genetic variation, I'm fine with where I'm at regarding how tall I am. So question number 8, what is your shoe size? Well, I'm a size 10, although actually I was a size 10 about 10 years ago, and I think now I'm probably a size 11 now. It's kind of funny how my foot size is still growing. I went from size 10 to size 10 and a half to now size 11 in my shoe size. And I think it has to do with the ligaments and tendons in my foot. I think that they stretch out over time, and then my feet just get bigger. My feet are relatively flat. I've got relatively flat feet. I don't have much of an arch. And what that means is that I have a feeling that my feet just spreads. They spread out. And so, there's an element of comfort to that too. I could probably fit into a size 10 shoe, but it would be a little bit tight, tight around the toes, tight around the heel. As I grow older, I'm less interested in struggling with those size challenges in shoes, and I'd rather just have some extra space so that I could stretch out my little toes and be relaxed and comfortable in my shoes. Yeah, there's no need to go too tight. In fact, I'd much rather have a shoe that's a little sloppy in terms of its size, a little large for its size, than too small, that's for sure. Okay, so question number 9. How many pairs of shoes, boots, or sneakers do you own? Okay, that's a good question. I would probably say between 10 and 15 pairs, maybe 10 pairs of shoes, which is not a lot of shoes. When you consider, I've got maybe 3 pairs of shoes for work, and then I've got a pair of tennies that I use for working out in the gym, and then a backup to that backup for tennies. And then I've got, I actually don't have any mountain, like hiking boots. I don't have any of those. I've got work boots that have got steel toes and, leather uppers that are fitting to use in industrial settings. I have some sandals, which I'm interested in getting replaced. I've had those sandals for such a long time, like a decade. I've got some Teva sandals. And I would just like to upgrade my sandal game. I want some nice looking sandals that I can wear on the beach here in California. And in fact, I'm actually actively looking for sandals. I went to an REI the other day and I asked for sandals. They didn't happen to stock any Tevas, even though Teva is a local brand of sandal, which is interesting. It's local to Santa Barbara. And so I think I am interested. I'm in the market for a good, nice pair of sandals that I can wear at the beach, particularly when we go stand-up paddleboarding. I'm going to need something to wear out there. Or when I go play some volleyball, some pickup volleyball at Pismo Beach. Definitely that would be nice. So let's see, I've got 1 pair of sandals. And let's see. You know what? I also have a pair of flip-flops, which I don't wear. I'm not a flip-flop fan. Let me tell you, I need to have that heel strap support, or else those sandals just fall off my feet. I think the problem is that when I was growing up as a kid, I really didn't wear flip-flops. I always wore closed-toed tennis shoes. And the idea of a flip-flop feels really alien on my foot. And I have a hard time walking. The way to walk in flip-flops is to press down with your toes all the time to keep those sandals on your feet. That's just not a natural way for me to walk, and I just can't do it for very long, and it's more of a bother to me. So I really don't wear my flip-flops, and in fact, I really need to think about what I'm going to do with them. I might want to send them out to Goodwill and have someone else have the opportunity to wear them. By the way, they're like the cheapest flip-flops ever made. I think I picked them up for like $3 or $6 or something. So it's not like it's going to be a serious loss. All right. What's the next question? Number 10, are you a shopaholic? So the answer to that question is clearly no. I'm not a shopaholic. That is in the sense where I would go to a mall and go shopping for clothes. That kind of action does not come easy for me. I might actually go shopping for clothes intentionally, like maybe once a month. and maybe not even that. And the what is why when I do shop, I enjoy it. I enjoy looking at clothes and putting clothes on. And for me, if I go clothes shopping, it's at a local Goodwill. It's not typically at a mall. And in fact, most of my shopping happens online. I got Amazon Prime just like everybody else. And so that's where I pick up most of my stuff. And a lot of it's just necessities, you know, fiber. I need to get my fiber, man. Or supplements or whatever. Got to get my vitamin B12, right? So let's see. So I'm not a shopaholic. Oh, something happens. Oh, I've got a call. All right, I know what that's from. All right, sorry, I'm checking my cell phone. The thing's just buzzing like crazy. I'm a really popular guy. So what's the next question? Question number 11. What would you change as a world leader? Boy, that's an interesting question. What would I change as a world leader? Well, first of all, my focus would be on peace between nations and economic trade. That would be my focus. Peace and trade. Peace and markets. And I'm a believer in largely free markets, along with some controls, just to make sure that the playing field is level. And so I think my focus would just be, and it would be certainly on peace. And I think I would try to strengthen the UN. I think that body is helpful to negotiate peace and trade deals around the world between countries, and I think there could be a lot of benefit. I think there's a lot of benefit from a UN organization. Definitely needed in our world today. What else I would do? I tend to be maybe somewhat libertarian in my political outlook. So I like free markets, and I also what I'd call I'm definitely not a moral hardliner. I prefer liberal policies relating to ethics. So anyway, I'm sort of a libertarian in that way. So I think I would probably focus on just giving people a little more freedom. Though I also believe in a social safety net. I think that having a social safety net is important because there are a lot of people in the world today who just have insecure food status. They're insecure from a medical standpoint, insecure from a mental health standpoint. There is a lot of what I'd call economic insecurity, and so I'd like to alleviate that somewhat by creating some social programs to help out. So I guess that's where I would stand. It would be sort of a mix of libertarianism and social safety net. I think they call them left libertarians. Yeah. And you know what? That vision is not a whole lot different than what's going on right now. And so, what's happening in the political world right now, I don't like to think about too much, because it's quite raucous. And but I think in general things are working out okay. We're sort of I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get things together on the political landscape. But anyway, what would I change as a world leader? Okay, what would I change? I think there ought to be more communication between nations. That's what I would change. I would just make it easier for leaders around the world to come together and form agreements. I really do think that today's world is made a lot smaller as a result of communication and the internet. And I think it's high time we take advantage of those communication benefits. Certainly at the federal level, as we communicate with other states. I think doing that could only be more helpful. Yeah, I would definitely make sure that, say, the State Department had a lot of people working on a lot of deals with other countries all over the world and just enhancing goodwill and cooperation among all. Yeah, that's definitely what I'd focus on. I also am an advocate for science and certainly space programs, but also just basic science and research. I would definitely be focused on improving research opportunities for young people and education. I'd definitely be supporting education for the young and making sure that they've got stellar facilities and a lot of opportunities for improvement. Education is one of the things that is the most important in my life. And so, if I were leader of the world, so to speak, or if I were a world leader, I think education would definitely be a focus that I would bring into the world, onto the world stage, even more than it is, right? Okay, so let's see, what's the next question? Did you enjoy cartoons as a child or teenager? And the answer to that is certainly yes. I loved cartoons. I spent a lot of time watching cartoons when I was a kid. I mean, if you think about it, I come from a family with 6 children. And on a Saturday morning, how do you care for those 6 children? Well, you turn on the TV, right? Well, we did a lot more than that, of course. Back then, there was a lot more than TV to entertain kids. There was the great out of doors, and I spent a lot of time out of doors. I was essentially a feral child. Oh, I was not a feral child. That's an exaggeration. But I spent a lot of time outdoors. Not a little bit of time outdoors. I mean, a lot of time outdoors. I mean, 8 hours at a time outdoors. I spent a lot of time outdoors. Not just a little bit of time outdoors. A lot of time outdoors. It would not be uncommon for me to spend 3 or 4 hours outdoors on a stint. That would be, I'd maybe come in for a glass of water, for a snack, and then go out shortly after that, back outdoors. I spent a lot of time outdoors just walking around, hiking around on my bike. I was out and about. That is a childhood that I really cherish. And what was the question again? Did you enjoy cartoons as a child or teenager? And yes, I watched a lot of cartoons. You can't always be outdoors. And when I was indoors, I was probably watching Hanna-Barbera cartoons, right? I was watching Bugs Bunny and Porky Pig and the Coyote and Roadrunner and Tom and Jerry. That was a cartoon about a cat and a mouse that would chase each other. Tweety Bird. I mean, I watched a lot of cartoons. A lot of Bugs Bunny. And then I watched a lot of Saturday morning cartoons like Scooby-Doo and, oh man, there's just so many cartoons. I watched a lot of cartoons growing up. Cartoons were definitely a part of my childhood. And yeah, a lot of good memories from those cartoons. A lot of weird cartoons. Let me tell you, I think back at, say, the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and I'm asking myself, that is some weird stuff. That is some really weird, and actually quite a lot of it is very violent. Do kids have cartoons these days? Yeah, I guess they've got the Cartoon Network. Even as an adult, I enjoy watching cartoons. But the cartoons that I mean, I watch very few cartoons these days. There was a time when I would watch a lot of South Park, but I don't watch South Park anymore. I haven't seen a South Park episode in years. But I do enjoy watching cartoons, and of course, I've certainly enjoyed the Walt Disney cartoons that have come out and the Walt Disney movies, you know? But yeah, cartoons. They're pretty amazing. All right. So, question number 13, do you still enjoy them today? And the answer is yes. The fact is, though, I really don't watch a lot of cartoons. Even though I would enjoy watching them, I just don't watch them. Now, if I watch a cartoon today, it'll probably be in the form of a movie, like a feature-length film. And, you know, in cartoons of that type, it's sort of like a stylized artwork. And it's more than just the cartoon. Quite often it's about a story, right? So, but yes, the answer is yes. I do still enjoy watching cartoons. Okay, and question number 14. Do you have an all-time favorite cartoon? Well, yeah. If I had an all-time favorite, it would probably be Scooby-Doo. I love Scooby-Doo. Now, that is until I can think of another cartoon that I liked as much or better. But in the moment, right now, I'm thinking Scooby-Doo. I love Scooby-Doo. Now, Scooby-Doo, if you're not familiar, is this dog and his owner who eats a lot of sandwiches. And they and their friends, they drive around in this mystery van and they solve crimes, and particularly crimes related to the supernatural. It's always about ghosts, and monsters, and I don't know. What do I like about Scooby-Doo? Well, first of all, I think it was pretty funny and whimsical, and I don't know. I also liked Justice League. Justice League was another set of cartoons, essentially superheroes. Wonder Twin powers activate. And I liked watching Justice League a lot. Batman and Robin and some other characters. Oh, there was also another cartoon that I really liked a lot called the Thundercats. I don't know if you remember that, but these are essentially cat/human hybrids that lived on a planet, and they have these magical whips. And there's like this family of wildcats, and they are battling against this evil character called Mumra, who's basically like a zombie mummy, who's got this, I don't know, these sinister ideas about taking over the world, and it's the Thundercats' responsibility to save the world. Anyway, that's good stuff. It makes me wonder, are you interested in cartoons? Do you like cartoons? What cartoons do you like? I'd be interested to hear about what cartoons you're enjoying. And maybe what cartoons you liked when you were growing up. I would definitely be happy to hear about those. So, if you get a chance, maybe send me a letter about the cartoons that you liked. I would be open to listening and reading about that. Well, anyway, it's probably time for me to get going and do something productive today. Maybe go clothes shopping, or maybe take some photographs, maybe read a book and clean up the house a little bit while I've got some time this weekend. So I want to thank you, Emily, for taking some time out and visiting with me for a while and listening to me answer these questions. I actually am finding this really entertaining and insightful, and I hope that you're getting some benefit out of it too. You're learning about me just about the same time I'm exploring about me, and so what could be better than that? Learning, exploration, understanding, harmony, and mutuality. Love that stuff. So thank you for connecting with me today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, my love. Peace.